unexplored land of the crazy, crazy West. Lewis and Clark decided to take it for a crazy test. Their times was hard, so crazy I might go Nimrod, like a super beast. Call me King Kong. Now I'ma spit this real slow, trying to get y'all to understand what I'm talking about. Jedediah known as one of the best. Attacked by a beast in the middle of the West. Now don't that suck, but I'ma pass it to Hammond to tell you more about it. Get 'em, get 'em.
This is the Louisiana Purchase, the Lewis and Clark Expedition, and Other Explorers by Emily, Allison, Mike, and Tony. Louisiana was vast unexplored land west of the Mississippi River. It belonged to France. Napoleon was the ruler of France, and he wanted to settle it for French farmers and close the New Orleans port to American goods. This scared frontier farmers because they would have no way to export their crops. So Thomas Jefferson sent James Monroe to France and offered to buy New Orleans for $7.5 million. Napoleon no longer needed Louisiana because some French slaves led a revolt in Haiti and defeated French troops. Basically, Napoleon was broke and was going to lose Louisiana to Great Britain anyway, so offered all of Louisiana to the United States for $15 million. James Monroe agreed quickly, but many American citizens were not happy. They thought that if there was even more land in America, it would be harder to govern, and others were mad about spending the $15 million that the country didn't have anyway. But Louisiana was the nation's new car, and Lewis and Clark were going to take it for a test drive.
Beep, beep.
Meriwether Lewis and William Clark set out to explore the Louisiana Territory on May 14, 1804. On their journey was Lewis, Clark, and a 16-year-old Native American girl named Sacagawea, and her husband, a French trader. Sacagawea's infant son and Clark's slave York also came along in the expedition. These people and a few more made the journey across the Mississippi and into Louisiana Territory. They were looking for the Northwest Passage, which is an alternate route to the Pacific Ocean, connecting the Columbia and Missouri rivers during the expedition. The crew crossed rivers, passed over mountains, fought off animal attacks, and they all needed their fair share of thunderclappers. Lewis and Clark kept journals throughout their travels, which were saved by Sacagawea in an overturned canoe accident, but they recorded many specific dates and events. They reached the Pacific Ocean on December 3, 1805, finding that there was no Northwest Passage. But there were also other great men who explored the frontier, Jedediah Smith being one of them. Smith was one of the smart explorers because he was not against the Native Americans. He worked with them so he could know the land and animals. He was the first white man to travel overland from the Salt Lake frontier, the Colorado River, and into California. Jedediah was recognized for awful facial scarring due to a grizzly bear attack. He was looking for the Crow Indian tribe, and the bear broke his ribs and split his side. His face was torn apart from the teeth of the bear. His scalp and ear were almost ripped off, but there were men in the woods with him and scared the bear off. His friend Jim Client sewed his ear back on and the slashes on his face back together as well. Despite his injuries, he and Robert Stewart still managed to find the South Pass, which became the most used route for settlers to the Oregon country. So in 1803, we bought 828,800 square miles of land from France. We then had many great explorers, including Lewis and Clark and Jedediah Smith, explore this land and find out what we bought. Our sources for this project were our history textbook.
Yay.